Let's go live.
Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well.
Good morning, everyone. I'll tell you what, that intro almost got me to say marvellous Monday. It's not Monday, it is Wednesday. And good morning to everyone here. Welcome along. Wealth Coffee Chats, another episode, another edition of Property Management Wednesdays. So welcome to everyone joining here today. If you haven't met me before, you haven't sort of heard me or seen me stick my face on camera, my name is Sjostedt, representing the property management team at R&W Plus and the overall 6-star team. So, listen, if you haven't been to one of our Wealth Coffee Chats here on a Wednesday before, we are here to, discuss all things property management. We do it at about 8:10 every morning, and I'm here every Wednesday. So, yes, all things property management today. I've got a few slides to share today because, as you guys might notice from the heading, Queensland rental reforms now in play. So reason I thought I'd bring this up again today, one, as a bit of a refresher and reminder. I know we've been talking about it a lot. You guys have probably seen a lot of content and stuff come out from your property managers, whether with our team or anyone else in that space. So a bit of a, stage 2 has now commenced as of yesterday. So, myself and our team up here in Brisbane are heading out for a bit of training this morning by another provider for about 3 hours. And, it's important that, property managers like us and also your property managers hopefully are doing the same, keeping up to date with what's happening in the world of legislation and rental reforms and all things out in the world, which is pretty cool. So we'll say good morning to a few people. Bunty's already on, so mate, thanks for jumping online, Bunty. Always appreciate your support on here, and everyone else here this morning. Good stuff. So I'm going to try and click a few buttons, team, and we're going to run through some slides. So I apologise in advance. It is a bit word heavy today, but I haven't been able to get my iPad working correctly. So bear with me. I've sort of put some things in different fonts, and hopefully you guys will play along. So I thought I'd just do a bit of a recap. And as I said, for everyone here today, this is specifically to do with Queensland rental reforms, given there were some changes back in early June and again in, as I said yesterday, 1st of October. So there's a couple of things to know. So I thought I'd just do a quick refresher here on some things you guys should already know. But if you don't, as I said, property manager should be letting you know about it anyway. But, some new laws came in 6th of June, rental bidding, which was already banned up here in Queensland, but obviously unable now to accept any offers higher than the advertised price. So if you've got a property priced $700 per week on the market at a fixed price, which is obviously one of the bullet points on your screen as well, you cannot accept more than the listed fixed price. So a bit of a reminder there, maximum rent in advance. So obviously here as property managers, or if you're here today and you self-manage, just know that you cannot, at the start of the tenancy, solicit, accept, or invite your tenant to pay rent in advance that exceeds more than 2 weeks for a periodic tenancy agreement there, even if the tenant makes an offer to pay more than that prescribed amount. Now, a little condition on that is that once the tenancy has commenced, the tenant and yourself may negotiate to pay rent in advance. So if your tenant, once the tenancy has commenced, the tenant wishes to pay, 2 months in advance because that's just makes life easier for them, then, once that is agreed upon, then that can be done. So you just cannot do that. Now, why do they do that? Well, look, it's to probably keep an even playing field when it comes to rental applications. Of course, a lot of these rental reforms is to make it a little bit fairer out there in the marketplace, which obviously, as you guys know, there's been a lot of competition over the last 1 to 2 years in that space. Rental increases, we've certainly spoken about this one, right? Limited to 12 months, and they are attached to the property team. They are not attached to the tenancy anymore. If your tenant moves out in 6 months' time, then you need to be aware it's still 12 months from the last time you increase the rent on the property. So keep in mind, don't get caught out on that one, right? It must be in writing. Obviously, evidence of last rental increases, you need to get this in writing. If your tenant requests evidence of the last time you did increase your rent, then of course you need to provide that within 14 days. And of course, there's some conditions there around if the property was sort of purchased within that 12 months, you may not have that information. But of course, most property management companies should be able to supply that. So how are we feeling about this stuff, team? Anyone had any challenges so far since the 6th of June? Any of these sort of, 4 or 5 points that was sort of, confirmed and reiterated in June? Anyone had any issues, or we're all good? Hopefully you're all good. Hopefully property managers guiding you along. Sonia's jumping on saying good morning. So good morning to you as well, Sonia. Thanks for joining me. So team, hopefully you're all okay in that space. Let's flick over to slide 2. Again, like I said, bit wordy, team. Sorry, I couldn't really put this in picture or visual format this morning. But interestingly enough, I just highlighted in orange. This is straight from the RTA website, Residential Tenancies Authority up here in Queensland. And they say the reforms that will help to ease the cost of living pressures for renters and support the RTA's compliance function. And this will commence as of the 30th of September. Interesting statement. I don't know what you guys think about that. Will some of these reforms necessarily ease the cost of living? I'm not too sure. Remains to be seen. That's why we're going to do some more training today, get some more information. But certainly I'm going to share something with you around reletting costs, because this is the one that it can be confusing if you haven't read it. It took me a couple of times to just, make sure I understood it correctly. But the reletting cost, team, this is now going to be calculated on the remaining time of the tenancy. So when I say reletting, we are talking about let's say a tenant signs a 12-month lease with you today, and then, potentially 6 months into that lease, they want to break their lease. In the past, we were able to, I guess, again, there was nothing in legislation that said what the reasonable costs were, but a tenant would normally pay reasonable costs and then rent up until the new tenancy. Excuse me. However, as of 30 September, this has now changed. So I'm going to give you the table and what that looks like. And I'm also going to give you an example and scenario so that you guys can hopefully, get a clear understanding of what that might look like. Obviously, rent payments, tenants must be offered 2 ways in rent. I mean, look, team, this is kind of normal. This sort of happens every day. Now, utility bills is one. It might seem quite minor, team. And you guys might let me know in the chat who here has their utility bills, in particular their water rates, come directly to them. Let me know in the chat. Because if you have your water rates, which includes your water usage for Queensland, if you have that bill coming to you, I'm here to tell you, you need to get that redirected to your property management company office. accounts team. Please do it today. Do it by tomorrow. Reason I'm saying that, team, if you want to pass on that water usage, if you don't invoice that tenant within a 4-week time frame of when you receive that bill, the tenant does not need to pay. So please. So many times, across my journey anyway, utility bills will go to owners because they want to manage that, which is totally okay if they're on top of it, right? Because they've got their spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff, which is cool. Here's the drill. Every quarter, they forget to send that on to the property manager. And in the past, we could only charge for the current quarter and one previous. That is now gone, team, up here in Queensland. So if you do not invoice your tenant within a 4-week time frame and provide a copy of that invoice, you cannot charge the tenant the water bill, the water usage. So be very, very mindful of what that might look like. Obviously, there's some things at the bottom of your screen, maximum bond, evidence for bond claims, things like that, which I'm not going to run through today because I'll run out of time. So one of the things, reletting costs, we wanted to work through this, and Jacob's jumped in here as well. Jacob says, amazing how landlords, generally hardworking Australians, limited to how they manage the investment. Yes, agree. And I'm going to show you an example of what that might look like, Jacob, because I don't necessarily agree with some of these reletting cost calculations, but hey, this is what we're dealing with. So from the top, team, reletting costs. This is specifically going to be what you as the owner, property managers are able to, how we are able to now calculate what the reletting costs are for the tenant who decides to specifically break their lease. Now, this is now going forward going to be calculated based on how much of the lease has expired. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you'll see percentage of the lease that has expired versus the reletting costs. Now, like I said, in the past, it used to be reasonable reletting costs. You might be advertising, they pay for the office letting fee. There might be some other costs in there. And then they pay rent up until the new tenant is secured, right? The day before. So then you as the landlord who didn't break the contract would, I suppose, still have an income generating property. However, it's going to be the lesser of the two now. So you'll see on the left-hand side, less than 25%, let's say 12 months lease. They break the lease within the first 3 months. The maximum they'll pay is 4 weeks rent. All right. So now if you lease that property within a 2-week period, they'll pay 2 weeks. So let's go and take a look at this example. Now, this applies for agreements up to 3 years, which is probably most tenancies in place. So here, let's take this scenario, team. Now, if I'm going too fast, too slow, jump in the chat, shout out, and I'll stop, pause, and perhaps go back and try and articulate it a little bit clearer for you. But hey, let's look at this scenario. So we've got a fixed lease for a period of 12 months, and the weekly rent is $500 per week. Let's say in scenario 1, the tenancy decides to break their lease and it's less than 25% of the fixed term that has expired. So the first 3 months, if the tenant and or resident breaks the lease in the 3-month period there, then the reletting cost would be a maximum of 4 weeks rent totaling $2,000. Like I say, if we rented that property within 2 weeks, not 4, then the tenant would pay a maximum there of $1,000. They pay the 2 weeks, being the lesser of the two. Jump down to 50%. So 6 months into your 12-month lease, they break their lease, off they go, and essentially they'll be charged there. The other way around, right? So the longer the lease goes, team, the less they will pay, obviously. So if if in the last 3 months of that lease they decide to break their lease, they can essentially pay 1 week's rent and vacate the property without any further penalty or cost to the landlord and or the agency. So these calculations here, you might not agree with them, but hey, this is obviously what stage 2 of the rental reforms are. The government's put something out there to ease the cost of living for prospective tenants. But here's my thought. Here's my 2 cents before we jump off today. When you go to market, who is covering the realestate.com invoice? Who's covering the marketing invoice? Agencies will certainly, and you guys know about this, right? Have some letting fees involved in that process. Who's going to be covering that? Does that still get charged? Is there some sort of renegotiation in that? There's a few things in here that perhaps haven't played out yet, haven't been thought about yet, which is really interesting because when these rental reforms come in, it's usually something's thought about at the surface level. And when you get to that operational, technical part of the activity or part of the process, all these other questions start to come up. So can we control this new bit of legislation, new bit of rental reform? The answer is no, team. We can't control it. It's happened. It's in play. It is real. However, what we can control is coming back to, tenant selection, right? We talk about how we can get to know our prospective tenants a little bit better, get an understanding of what they are looking to do. Because if they are only looking if they are looking to be there for a limited time, then you may run into these problems if they're looking to purchase or they're, potentially got a job offer interstate and they might be moving, right? What else can we control? We can control how we market the property, certainly, right? We certainly want to limit your time on vacancy, on market, right? You need to make sure we're limiting that because that's really important, and that will help you mitigate any loss that potentially is, rolled over to you in this particular scenario. Because you can see here, if the tenant needs to pay, 7 months into the lease and they're only up for 2 weeks rent maximum in this scenario, then you're going to make sure that that property is not on the market for 4 weeks and you're missing out because they will pay the lesser of the two. Yep, they'll either pay rent up until the new date before that period, or they'll pay a maximum of the 2 weeks rent in that scenario. So super important, team. Super important that, we on top of this stuff. I know there's a lot of words this morning, but it's something, your property managers need to be aware of. And like I said, that's why our team's going out this morning, do a bit more training, get a bit more understanding of it, do a bit more scenario training perhaps, and get a good understanding of what's going on in the marketplace and how we might, handle this stuff moving forward now that it is in place. So have a look out for that one, team. Super, super critical. Certainly something you don't want to be reactive to. We want to certainly get ahead of this one. And your property management team, as we say here, is to keep you safe and maintain your wealth. And if you've got the right strategies and right sort of team in play, then you'll be able to sort of handle these scenarios as they come along. It's not the first time something's come across a landlord's desk where they've had to adjust and tweak things and understand something a little bit more. So we keep going, team. We keep pushing forward, and we make it happen. So, team, that's done and dusted. Wealth Coffee Chats. I knew it would be rushed through, or it felt rushed through for me. I'm not sure about you guys, but a lot of words in there, team. If it is a lot of information, obviously. So as you go along, if there's any questions, my email just down the bottom there. Just hit me up. Let me know where you're at. If you've got any questions around that. If you get stuck in this situation, or this situation comes up for you in the next couple of months, your tenant breaks lease, let me know. Happy to sort of unpack that together and try to work out a solution. So that's it today, team. Done and dusted. You guys have a lovely Wednesday. I'm off to training. Don't forget, 8:10 tomorrow. Team will be back, 6-star team. Maybe it'll be Jason. Maybe it'll be another guest, maybe an advisor, coach. We'll see. But team, you guys have a good Wednesday. Thanks for playing along and having me again. See you soon, team.
Episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6-star team here at positivementor.com.au.